What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks again for tuning in to today's trade recap. So on the day, I'm up 15,300 bucks, give or take. We have some open positions, as you can see, on FCEL and PLUG. They're still open. Those are short trades. We're anticipating those stocks are getting ready to sell down. Those were mentioned on today's pre-market watch list, which we do pretty much every single day and upload before market open, so you kind of know what we're looking at for the day. So in total, I traded 15 stocks. I accidentally fat fingered onto LIVE. So realistically, I didn't actually mean to trade LIVE. That was a fat finger. At the time, I had 6 open positions that I was managing, and then I accidentally screwed up and bought LIVE. So that was an accidental trade. So if we take away the accidental trade, I've traded 14 stocks and have been green on every single stock today. No losing trade. So phenomenal trading. Super blessed and super happy. So let's get into going through all of these stocks. Again, there's 14 stocks we have to cover. I'm gonna have to go through this pretty quickly, so you're just gonna have to follow along as best you can. So let's get our charts ready for this. All right. Let's link these up because it'll make it easier for our talking. All right, so we're gonna link those up. All right, so the first one today is ACOR, and I will tell you that most of this was all short selling. So I had started shorting ACOR this morning, pretty much right here, added some more here, and then covered the short down, I think, here. So it ended up fading out a lot more. I was anticipating on holding the share or the short all day long, but then I'm like, whatever. I was already up $2,000 on the trade. I'm like, you know what? Rather than having to keep attention on this and focus on this throughout the day, I'll just cover it, close out the trade. That way I can focus on other things. So today we went short on ACOR up here in the highs pre-market and covered into the low here at about 623. Had a total of about 2,000 shares short on that play. Ended up making $1,900. So on a 2,000 share short, I captured about a $1 move all the way down and was able to net $1,900 on that trade today. Next one is INTC, which I traded good, but could have been such a way better trade. So this morning, essentially, was shorting INTC here up and into these green candles, into these red candles, into these candles, and then covered pretty much before market open into this dip. Then it popped and then faded out big time. So I had a total of almost 4,000 shares short on INTC this morning. If I would have caught in the flush to the downside, maybe it would have been a eight grand trade or something. But either way, still trading really well. Ended up making $1,600 on the short with INTC. And before I go further, let me show you ACOR really quickly. I forgot something. So why did we go short on ACOR where we went short? If I pull up the... Well, that's odd. That's kind of different now. That doesn't make much sense. Oh, it does. Yeah, so if you look at where the red levels are pre-market here on my chart with ACOR, and then if you go to the right, you're going to see that those red levels are right here on this trend. So essentially, ACOR at the prices of 770, 780 this morning pre-market, it was on long-term resistance. So the risk to reward was kind of skewed to go long. It made more sense to be bearish at that point. So that's why we were bearish ACOR. Now, if we go back over to INTC, so the reason that we were short on INTC where we were short is pretty much the same exact reason why we were short where we were short on ACOR. If you look at the chart on the right, INTC was running up into long-term trending resistance. It actually broke through briefly, so it kind of gave me this moment of like, am I wrong? I'm like, nah, I'm not wrong. I'm still right. So anyways, it went to resistance. The resistance started, like I said, remember how I said I was shorting here and up into here because this was the resistance right there. This 59.59, that's the true resistance. So pretty much anything here and above kind of meant it was overbought on resistance. So I figured we would sell that and anticipate it would come back down under. So essentially we ran to long-term trending resistance, and I still didn't trade it that well. Could have faded that move, significantly more, but ended up netting a trade of $1,641 on that stock. SYBX was a little shit stain today. But anyways, I shorted SYBX pre-market, covered into the open, added more short here, did not cover this drop, ended up getting squeezed up a little bit. So I guess I did have a losing trade today. It was on SYBX. But across the tickers, I was not red on any tickers that I traded. So I did do a short trade here, SYBX pre-market on this top, covered into the low pre-market or in the market open, made like 500 bucks or something like that. Went short another couple thousand shares here. We got this big breakdown. I didn't cover my short, thought it would go a little bit lower. I ended up going a little bit higher, got squeezed out, and then never ended up taking a trade on it again, which I wish I would have, because I would have nailed that one. So what were the reasons for being short? Maybe think it was short. I mean, if you look at the chart on the right, you're going to see it's over the blue line. Just means it's overbought. And, you know, it was running on basically no news. So ended up making a total of 154 bucks on that stock. LIVE was a mistake, so we're not even going to cover that one. PDD was a really small trade that ended up working good later on in the day, but we took a small long here, bounced up the stock, closed it out for a small win of just 154 or $102, and then later on it goes through a big jump. That's kind of what we wanted to get when we were bouncing here, but it ended up being later. So either way, PDD came down. I'll show you. If you look at the screen on the right, you're going to see this little dotted trend line. So the bottom of this candle comes down right into this zone. So essentially on the day, PDD had fallen all the way down into long-term trending support. So it was a low-risk long to bet to the upside as we were down in the prices of like 161 today there on PDD. All right, next one on the list is ENG. So all of ENG was short bias trading, which is crashing right now, so I'm kind of salty I'm not in on that. ENG was tricky. Basically, we shorted this top, covered that low, made a little bit of money. Shorted this top, covered that low, made a little bit of money. Never got the full breakdown. The full breakdown ended up being here, where this top got shorted and then ended up fading out. So this move is essentially what we wanted to capture here and here. Just didn't get it, but we did cover the plays before they would squeeze us out. A lot of times traders get caught in squeezes like this and it moves back up because a lot of traders want to hold on to their position till the absolute last moment, to the point where they know they're for sure wrong, because they don't want to let a win slip through their fingers. So people will hold a losing long position, or a losing short position, or maybe your break even, slight win, but you keep holding until the last second so that you can tell yourself that you're for sure wrong and you're not letting a win slip through your hands. And then you get caught on the opposite side of the move and it really destroys your P&L. So, basically our approach is to find where the low risk entry will be, where it should move to, and then make sure we manage our trade the whole way through so we're not getting caught with big positions in the opposite swinging side of the move. So anyways, two shorts, top here, cover bottom, top here, cover bottom, shorted a couple thousand shares, ended up making a total of $739 on ENG, but we really wanted to catch a big fading move like that, but just never ended up happening. All right, next one on the list is Frsx, which I could have traded way better, but still didn't. I guess when you trade so many stocks throughout the day, you're, I don't even know what to say. Maybe the compass can get a little foggy at times. So anyways, went short. This was a big short. I had about 14,000 shares short. So I started shorting this red candle and then shorted into the high of this green candle, 15,000 shares. And then as we rolled over and started to break support here, I started to cover. Didn't get the full move down to here. Took off the full position on this candle. So didn't get the full move with big size, but I got a good chunk of it. And again, overall, with the amount of shares that I was trading, which was 15,000, and to profit, the amount of money I did, it's not bad, but you really should be catching a little bit more of a bigger move with bigger size when doing something that I was doing. So still some areas that I can sharpen up in my trading arsenal to make me a little bit more efficient. So anyways, it was short on the top and we got the breakdown, just didn't catch the full move. But that was done with about 15,000 shares and I made 1,250 bucks on that trade. Next trade is going to be ONDS. So ONDS was a short trade. Essentially, this stock squeezed up. I started adding short on this candle, started adding short on this candle. Only got about a 900 share short. It was kind of hard to get fills. It wasn't extremely crazy volume. So it was kind of hard to get the fills I wanted to get. So I ended up getting about 900 shares short from this candle into this candle. And then I just covered the low of this move because at the time that I was in this short with ONDS, I was actually working a short on GSX. My GSX trade made 6,400. So I kind of had a big position simultaneously as I was shorting this position. So I had one small position and one really fairly big position. So I was like, you know what? Let's just cover ONDS. I made, what did I make? 300 bucks on that. So I ended up, where's that? Yeah. Yeah, so I ended up making $300 on the ONDS short, and I could have made more, but at the time I was working that big position on GSX, so I'm like, it makes more sense to put attention on GSX than to try to catch, like another 30, 40 cents on ONDS. So anyways, ended up going short ONDS. What were the reasons for going short? If you look at the screen on the right, this is the 4-hour time, or this is the daily chart. You'll notice we were getting close to essentially long-term top resistance of 1527, but I was first trading off the 4-hour chart here where we had already hit resistance. So we had kind of gone over resistance at 1450 on the 4-hour chart, but we had up to like 1550 in the daily chart. So I knew that this 1450 to 1550 $1 range would probably be the top. So as long as I could size the position into the 1450 to 1550 zone, then I would probably be okay on the short side. So ended up making $317 there. Next one on the list is GSX, which was my biggest winner on the day of 6,400. So this was a short trade. By the time I had caught wind of GSX, it was up here. So at this time, the risk is elevated to go long, so I decided to be short. So by the time I caught wind, GSX, it was trading here. I started shorting this top, and I only shorted about 400 shares. So I kept 400 shares short. Why did I only go 400 shares short on that initial first kind of top zone? Because I knew, let me first show you. So if we look at the screen on the right, we're going to start with the 4-hour chart, and we're going to delete all these drawings, okay? So look at the screen on the right. After I delete these drawings, there it goes. So what we're going to first do is look at this 4-hour time frame. I'm going to put a horizontal price level on my screen, just like so. Wait. I feel like I'm doing this wrong. Hold on. No. So this is what's going on. Alrighty. So, and then let me do this too. So let me go back. So you see the 4-hour chart. I put that horizontal line on, and it came out right there. Now I'm going to put on another horizontal price level over this trend line, which comes into play right there. And then you see that darker red dashed line? That's the daily chart 50 exponential moving average. Okay, so I go short 400 shares on this top because there was a good chance it was going to top there. But I also knew that we had potential price targets on the upside as high as this 58.90s and as high as 61. So I enter a short of about 400 shares on what could have been the first top on the day, so that if it was, we would make money on the downside. But took a position size that I was okay if in the event I was completely wrong and it squeezed all the way up to 59 to almost 61. So taking a position so that if in the event the stock would go down, I would make money, but taking a position that we're okay with it squeezing all the way out to further price targets to where we would much rather be short, and then we would average in a bigger position. So I went short about 400 shares. It squeezes all the way up to here. I'm red about $1,500, and then I re-enter into a bigger position short here of almost 4,000 shares. As the stock starts to drop out, I cover most of my shares so that I can lock in a win of close to 5,000. Kept on about 700 shares and then let 700 shares fade. And as we went down, I just slowly covered 100, 25 at a time, 25 at a time, 25 at a time, until I eventually covered my last 25 share position of that position down here towards this low. Okay? And so again, the reasons for shorting were all described on that right screen for you. All right, next one on the list was a small winner, CPSH, which could have been a bigger winner. But anyways, like I said, I did a lot of trading today. Sometimes you get a little foggy, but and I caught it a little late. Anyways, this squeezes up. I take about 200 shares short here. It goes down. I'm up like $180. Then it goes up, and I'm only up like 40. I was like, whatever. So I just took it off, for like a $20 win. But at one point, I was up about $200. And if we would have kept the trade on, of course, you see that it faded out, and it turned into a really nice short trade. So didn't do my job entirely correct there, but whatever. And there isn't a whole lot that I could describe that might make sense as to why this moved the way it moved. Simply was just a low volume, short squeeze, squeezed out, then it just got overbought and it just meant to be sold. Okay, next one on the list is WIMI, which could have traded better, but still traded very well. So WIMI was a short trade, essentially started shorting 3,000 shares here on this top, covered into pre-market mainly. And then, yeah, that was it. I basically took a short, covered it pre-market here, made $1,000, never reshorted, never added more, didn't hold the full way, and you can see this thing got absolutely smoked. And I bought up, and I had up to 10,000 shares that I was willing to use, but I wanted to see the price in this zone of 918 to 945. So very similar to GSX, we had the zone from 920 to 950 on WIMI that would have been a really good selling zone. So I was prepared with, so I had shorted 3,000 shares on this top, and I was prepared to use my other 7,000 shares within this zone. So I shorted the top in hopes it went higher into the 920, 950, but just in case I went 3,000 so that if it did fade out, I would make money and not miss the trade. So I went short 3,000 to catch the move down if in the event it went and did not go up, but did a position size that I wanted to go to 920, 950, then I can organize a bigger short position. And if he would have went into the 920s, 950s, I probably would have held that big position into the open to fade the morning drop, but it just didn't play out that way for me. So all said and done, $1,000, $1,088 on that stock today. Next one is TLSA. TLSA made $613. This was also a short trade that went further than I thought it would, but that's okay. So anyway, started entering short a couple thousand shares up here and then basically covered into this first drop. So enter short here, cover here. What were the reasons for going short on this stock? If you look at the screen on the right, here's the 4-hour time frame. We were basically running into 4-hour trending resistance, which was slightly higher than the top, but at the same time, we had already met the statistical average resistance, which started here. So essentially, TLSA goes up on the day, it reaches long-term resistance, it squeezes over long-term resistance by a little bit, gets closer to even stronger resistance at 439. So again, to me, the zone from 397 up to the 430s is a zone to be selling in. So as we started to break up and over 395, I started to sell a couple thousand shares into this high, anticipating we could go as high as 440, maybe to 450, and I would keep sizing in short on the way up until the move flushed to the downside. So added short on the way up here and then covered on the way down to net $613. Next one on the list is Jagx. So Jagx was a short trade that went really far, but anyways, Jagx squeezes early this morning pre-market, gets extremely overbought, so we just add 5,000 shares short on this top, and then as it swings down, we cover, and our last cover was down there. So had 5,000 shares, covered most of the big size early on to lock in a nice win, and then ended up fading like maybe 500 or 600 shares down to this low point and covering their pre-market. The two positions that are currently going on are plug, and if you guys watched our early morning watch list that we do every day, we're currently short plug. It started with a phenomenal down move. Market bought it all the way back up. So either way, it doesn't really matter. This could go higher. It could go lower. We're positioned for either or. We're positioned that if it goes higher, that's fine. We're positioned that if it goes lower, that's fine. We positioned ourselves so that if it did go higher, we would add more. So again, if you look at the right side of the screen, statistically speaking, the stock is way overbought. There's still a lot of hype. There's still a lot of momentum. It was given an $85 price target. That's cool. But either way, we're short FCEL and we're short plug. I know there's hype. I know there's momentum. I know it's the future. But either way, within the current moment in time, the cycle is on a high side, which means we're probably coming into a bearish move. So we decided to start positioning ourselves short rather than necessarily wait for the day that looks extremely bearish. We're just shorting on the days that are green or just starting to short in general so that way we don't miss the move if in the event we are correct. So there's two short trades right now. One going on with FCEL and one going on with plug. Neither one of them are extremely big size. The reason we started small size is because we thought we could be wrong, and if we're wrong, we don't want to have a big size position that goes against us. We'd rather have a small size position that goes against us, so that when it goes higher and we think it's an even better selling point, then we'll start to take on bigger size. So as soon as we come to the realization that we are in fact correct or it is going down, that's where we'll most likely take our bigger size and then try to fade that move back down into the market, essentially. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is all the trades for the day. Currently sitting at $15,000 green on the day, with $347 in commission. That puts me at $14,700. With some of the shares that I probably purchased variously throughout different stocks in the day, let's call it a $14,000 a day. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, everybody take care. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys like this channel. I hope I help you guys. I hope you're learning. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button like 6 trillion times as a thank you. And if you guys are watching this and still listening, I'm going to be doing an afternoon trading session today. So at some point I will hop back on today, do a little live session like we did yesterday, and see if there isn't anything that we can capitalize on throughout the afternoon. With that being said, guys, everybody take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.